Hi, I'm Adam Loretz from the Filmmakers Workshop, and today I thought I'd just do a little live thing and we could have a rap about the GH5. Look, here's one. This is the new camera from Panasonic. I say new, it's been out about 2 months, long enough for me to get to grips with it and feel like it was something worth talking about, as opposed to just getting it out of the box and reading you the tech spec. Suffice to say, this camera's landed with quite an impact, and it's making some real impressions, some long-lasting impressions on some professional filmmakers. Lots of them have picked it up, and not many of them have put it down. So what is this camera to make such waves? Well, in the current market, Canon seem to have just kind of like eased off any kind of progressive thinking with their DSLRs at basically 1080p at 60, and you know, things like the 80D have a flip out screen and great dual point autofocus, and that's made them very popular with a lot of bloggers. However, if you're wanting 4K quality, then you've got to go to Sony, and as we'll see a bit later on, that's been the case with Casey Neistat, who was a big Canon fan, then went to Sony, and now is a GH5 man. But more about that in a minute. So beyond the resolution, the GH5 is a massive upgrade from the GH4. The GH4 was very good, but just not quite there, and here's why. Fundamentally, the GH5 is an improvement because it has a 422 10-bit codec, not just at 1080p, which is where I thought this camera was going to come in. This shoots 4K 10-bit 422, and as far as I'm aware, no other DSLR camera does that. There are DSLRs that shoot 422 at 8-bit, like the Canon 1DX Mark II, but that's at 8-bit. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but those 2 bits, we're talking millions of colors. We're talking creative potential that's just gone whoop, way up. So beyond just the codec, it has a 2x crop on the sensor instead of 2.3. It's got inbuilt stabilization. It still has the same great long-lasting battery, and it comes with this super sweet little audio module to get your XLRs plugged straight in. So all round, this camera has an awful lot to offer, and here's what some of the other professional filmmakers who I know, who I speak to on a fairly regular basis, all think about the camera, and just a glimpse really into who's using the GH5. So first off, we've got Casey Neistat. As I mentioned, he basically broke a lens on his Canon camera, asked Canon to fix it. They said no. He offered to pay for it, and they said no, and so he said, okay, fine. I think I'll move to Sony. And no sooner did he move to Sony that he realized, well, you know, love the resolution, but these flippy screens are very, very annoying, because the Sony ones just tilt. They're no good for vlogging particularly. Interestingly, as soon as the GH5 came out, Casey was on it, and he seems to have been using the GH5 ever since. If you're going to vlog, you need the flip out screen, you want that high quality, you want the battery life. What can I say? You know, filmmaking isn't just about the camera, it's about craft. And if you're interested in craft, you want the right tool for the job. Sonys are fantastic in low light. Canons have great color and they've got great autofocus. So you've got to take your pick. But in the case of the world's most popular, well-known vlogger, he's a GH5 guy. I just picked up this video by Gulose Carrillo, I think that's his name. You can see the GH5 reflected in Casey's glasses there. It's a nerd thing, you know, seeing who's using what camera, and just indicators really as to what's happening in the market. And let's be honest, filmmaking is a rapidly changing market, and it's good to know what's hot and what's not. Okay, so besides Casey, Ryan Connolly did a great review of the GH5, and interestingly at the end of the review he remarks about wanting one himself. He will pick one up. Ryan doesn't often talk about buying cameras. He's used a Canon 5D Mark II and a C100 and owns them, and used loads of cameras, but in terms of buying, again, I'm talking about nods here, just indications. The fact that Ryan is talking about buying a GH5 speaks volumes. He's a man all about craft, all about creating the best possible content, and the codec in the GH5, the slow motion, for him, that's just joy. It just means he can make the best films possible. So in this side of the pond, Philip Bloom. Here you can see him the other side of the pond, near Vegas, out in the desert somewhere with Sarah, filming on a Rhino slider with a GH5. Philip Massif was really into the GH4, and then I think like Casey kind of like fell for the low light of the Sonys, and you know, really got into them. But again, you know, if you look on Philip's vlog, he's using the GH5 a lot, quite a fair bit. So, you know, it's interesting to see people using these cameras. Eric Naso, based in San Diego, multi-Emmy award-winning filmmaker, has ditched his Sony a6500 for vlogging, picked up a GH5. Recently, I think also on News Shooter, has just done a comparison by grading a C300 Mark II with a GH5, and GH5 seems to fit in very well indeed. So again, somebody worth checking out, somebody with serious industry credentials, who, again, you know, if you want the right camera, look at the right people, see what they're using. Jordan Drake, who films the brilliant YouTube series for the Camera Store TV with Chris Nichols, they use the camera to recreate a scene from Goodfellas. So testing it out in low light, I think everybody agrees that the camera's really good up to 3200 ISO, and if you know anything about cameras and light, then you know that is a perfectly reasonable ISO. You know, even now, like live vlogging this, I'm still lit, and you know, lights are so important. So you know, unless you are absolutely run and gun documentary in low light and no light, the Sonys are going to help you out. But essentially, for everything else, you know, the GH5 is certainly at the top of the pile. Tony Northrup, a man who knows his cameras. It's his go-to vlogging camera and one of his favorite video cameras of all time. Oh, that is until the GH6, of course. Somebody else really worth mentioning is Andy Axe, who's got a fantastic YouTube channel. Everything him and his team put out, I think, it's really good. It's what the internet was made for, sharing these kind of films, and his filmmaking advice, I think, is fantastic. Again, somebody who is a big GH4 fan, uses it with the Metabones adapter and the Canon 18 to 35. Now, for somebody like Andy, the GH5 is going to be a great step up from the GH4 because it's got inbuilt stabilization, and it just means that really popular lenses like the Canon 18 to 35, which isn't a stabilized lens, is now gives you the opportunity to use that under different circumstances and benefit from the lovely stabilization in this little puppy. Anyway, so that's just my thoughts on it, and something which hopefully, if you're looking to buy a camera to get into filmmaking, or you're looking to upgrade, then hopefully that gives you some indicators as to just how good this camera is. Anyway, best of luck with your filmmaking, and until next time, thanks for watching.